Hello, everyone. I see people are joining. I'll give it a couple more minutes for everybody to come in. So to not spend too much time, welcome, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy days to listen about cloud sovereignty. We are going to be talking about it through different lenses, different perspectives. This is me, Max, and my colleague Enrico. We each have our own perspectives on it, and you will have to endure, I guess, our perspectives a little bit in more detail today. We will introduce ourselves properly a little bit later as we go through the presentations, but in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them in the Q&A section. We will be able to address them as we move forward and as we talk. If you will have anything you want to talk about with the other attendees or with us through chat, feel free to do so as well. And we will hopefully be able to address all of your questions and concerns if and when they arise. For now, I will share my screen with the presentation that I have prepared, and we can start. So, let's talk about cloud decisions for sensitive data. The main idea here is to talk about how to reduce risk and how to stay in control of your cloud. So, who am I and why should you listen to me? I am the Chief Business Development Officer at Sigli. We are a tech company and software provider. We work with cloud companies, cloud integrators, and end users a lot of the time. I also host a podcast called InAdvantage, where I interview guests from all spectrums of life connected with business and technology. And I also mentor companies in the local plug and play tech accelerator. As a company, Sigli is, like I said, a software company. So we create software that is specific to the businesses that request us to do it. It is oftentimes required to be reliant. It is oftentimes required to be as minimally risky as humanly possible. Specifically, we are focusing on the European region, and we are based out of Vilnius in Lithuania. So if you are ever here in the neighborhood, feel free to drop by. Here's a photo of our offices to easily find us. So why are we talking about cloud sovereignty right now? It is a critical moment in both the regulatory space and the business space, where the three key drivers that drive the conversation are those of sovereignty, by reducing dependencies on non-EU providers as a whole, competitiveness, strengthening the digital economy against your competition, and resilience, ensuring domestic robustness here in Europe. And it's not that those topics have been not important so far, but they have become more and more important as time moves on. So when looking at cloud and AI sovereignty, you can look towards the Cloud and AI Development Act. It gives a nice framework for you to address how you should look at cloud sovereignty, and it produces four levels for you to understand where your data and your cloud is and whether or not you need to be on a higher level to comply with the regulation that is out there. So from the first level, where the data is processed and stored in infrastructure located in the union, up to level 4, where providers have full transparency and control over their software supply chain with no interference from third country. Most, of course, will not be at level 4, especially right now, as European cloud is still dominated by more worldwide and US-based providers. But still, I think the examples are out there, and I'm sure Enrico will highlight some of them for you later today. So as you approach this, you need to understand that cloud is a part of the business, and the business can only be driven through the infrastructure that you set up. So the business goal comes first, but the cloud and IT goals and general technology goals that you have need to support the business. One enables the other. They are interconnected, and without the connection between the two, it is impossible to select the right cloud infrastructure. It is impossible to follow the correct regulations, and it is impossible to de-risk your environment. Right now, the conversation around cloud and how you approach it and evaluate it shifts and changes. So classically, we would talk about cost optimization, deployment speed, and scalability. But right now, legal reach and compliance is a much more important topic. Operational resilience, something that we've already mentioned several times. Exit options and portability become also very important, as right now many companies are experiencing problems with exit options. And of course, systemic trust to the providers that you work with. So at the end of the day, you need to refocus your strategy, determine which business functions require greater control and autonomy than the current cloud architecture can provide. And as you look at your cloud through the lens of enterprise governance, you need to understand what is its role within your organization. Your organization can be large, your organization can be small, but the role of your cloud and any other technology that you're using will be different. So use this simple framework where you scale it based on need for reliability versus need for innovation. And there are four quadrants that you can place your technological solutions and environments in. The low and low is support mode, where technology does not really impact the business that much, but it supports it. High and high, on the other hand, is strategic focus. So depending on where your need for innovation is and need for reliability is, you need to understand how critical it is for you to have a cloud strategy and how vulnerable you are to that resilience and risk in the very beginning of your journey. So as you understand where you are, it becomes much easier to select the right approach. And of course, nothing can happen without data. You need to understand the levels of sensitivity of data that you have access to, that your organization works on. Naturally, at the core of things is the special category personal data protected under strict regulations. Think healthcare data, for example, or specified legal data. This is the data that needs to be protected above all else. But outside of that, you also have different layers of personal data. So general personal data, for example, is protected under the GDPR here in Europe. And then you have business critical data, trade secrets, IP, financial operational data, something that is inherent to your company. So not all data is uniform. Data is different, and you cannot handle all data in the same manner at the same time, and you don't need to, honestly. So the shift here is that you need to look at workloads versus looking at data as a whole. Avoid treating low level and low risk public workloads like they are the center of your organization, because then it stops your progress. And avoid treating sensitive compliance systems like generic web traffic. So the other way around. If you know, don't value your data that much at all, regulation will stop you at some point, and you need to address that first. So instead of looking at everything holistically, look at your workflows and which workflows integrate with which data across the road. So the real decision here isn't cloud or not. It's which workloads go where. To assess which workloads go where, you need to use these three axes. Data sensitivity. We already talked about that. Regulatory exposure. Understand which regulations extend to you, GDPR, the EU AI Act, DORA, the Cloud Act, and so on. And business criticality, the framework that I've already provided for you to understand whether or not your tech is integral to your business continuity. Once you've done that, you have the risks that are inherent to any process. You need to understand that everything that I'm talking about basically is relevant to the EU and the regulational framework that the EU uses. If you are outside of that, you need to be aware of the regulational framework that exists there and how it influences the EU as well. You need to be aware of unknown data flows where they may not be as visible to like the higher ups and the structure of your company as you may expect. Also, I've mentioned this already, but I want to mention it again, is the exit friction, egress costs. So once you're already in bed with a supplier, it may be very hard to get out of that, and you need to understand those kinds of risks. And of course, there are always hidden technical and service dependencies that are only known to the people that are inside of the infrastructure. At the end of the day, there is always the risk of big bang migration failure. So if you want to do everything everywhere all at once, the risks grow exponentially that you will fail somewhere, somehow, and that can be a very dangerous situation. So what is control for data and for cloud at the end of the day? It's about location, it's about access, it's about legal and compliance, it's about exit strategies, it's about resilience, and audit trails that inevitably come when auditing starts. To use this approach, we've developed a very simplified 5-step delivery model that we use here internally in Sigli, and you can use it for your own as well. First step is understand the environment, understand the technological complexity, understand the stakeholders that are involved, the regulations, and so on and so forth. Then, based on that data, decide on which workloads to focus, which data to work with, and which providers are the best ones for you. Then de-risk. Incremental moves, guaranteed data integrity, and of course, zero downtime, is always the goal. Then comply, make sure that what you have developed and are developing is compliant with the relevant regulation to your business and your environment. And lastly, of course, prove through data, through KPIs, through metrics that your company is already used to tracking and viewing. Uptime, recovery, cost, time to market, whatever depends on your personal organization and the level of criticality that the cloud plays within that organization. For now, I would like to talk a little bit about a case study that we believe illustrates this approach fairly well. So this isn't some grandiose superstar organization, fairly round-of-the-mill, a DAC-based software provider serving thousands of customers across dozens of countries with hundreds of employees. An organization large enough to have those kinds of problems, small enough to still be agile. What we found out is that their main challenge was within the technology itself. So their whole environment was very monolithic, which means that those classifications, those distinctions between data, between sources, were impossible to do as everything was just conjoined into one singular solution. And the main constraints here is, of course, maintaining ecosystem stability and guaranteeing zero downtime, because as a software company, their software is the core of their business. So here's how we applied the framework. We first understood that this is the problem and not anything else, because without that monolithic approach to their technology, we could have started with something else, and that would have definitely been the wrong choice. And we've moved the company through those steps where at the end we executed the final shift without any downtime. And I believe that those steps are specifically what contributed to that, because without understanding, without weighted decisions, without de-risking and compliance across the board, we would not have been able to arrive at that situation. So in the end, once we moved away from the monolithic structure into modern microservices structure, we've observed faster recovery, faster bug resolution, lower maintenance cost, and faster time to market, which were the core business metrics for the company to follow at the time. So as a leader, here's a quick checklist of questions that you can use for yourselves and ask yourselves. What data has been protected? What's the impact of failure? What are the dependencies? What's the exit cost? And so on and so on and so forth. There are many more that you can, but this quick cheat sheet should help you along to make the first educated decision along that way. So to sum up, don't guess, map, use the frameworks that I've outlined to understand where your technology is within your organization, what kind of workflows you should be focusing on, and what level of sensitivity it is that you're dealing with. De-risk the first move, so validate your architecture before attempting to scale. Leverage the resources that you have. For example, OVHcloud will share the voucher that we've already talked about in the beginning before the webinar even started, and shift your mindset from reaction to intention. Stop reacting to the market changes and stop predicting them by understanding what is it that you're up against. And that is more or less it for my part. If you want to talk more about de-risking your current infrastructure, or if you want to ask me some personal questions on everything that you've heard so far, here's a quick QR code that you can use to schedule a meeting with me, and I will use our company resources to help you along. If you don't want to do that, here's the contact information on LinkedIn and email, and you can just subscribe to the podcast at the very least. So that's it for me. Thank you very much. Enrico, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Max. And I would like to thank also the Sigli team to organize this webinar and for the invitation. As you might know, Sigli is a partner of OVH, and today I will first introduce myself. My name is Enrico Marescutti, Business Development Manager for OVH, based in Amsterdam. Without further ado, I will share with you the presentation that I prepared for you today. So, Max, do you see correctly the presentation?
Indeed.
Awesome. So, as I said, today I will explain to you who OVHcloud is and how do we differentiate ourselves in the market and how we can provide sovereign cloud solutions, since today the topic is very hot. First, I would like to tell you that OVHcloud is the biggest European cloud solution provider that is active currently in Europe. We have been active for 26 years now, since 1999, and we have almost 3,000 employees, 2 servers manufacturing facilities, and this is very important because we are a vertically integrated company. I will come back to that later. But also, we have 46 proprietary data centers that are spanning all around the globe. And I will show you now. Our global presence is, as I said, made of our data centers and local zones. So these are smaller public cloud deployment that are placed in different cities just to minimize latency. We also design and operate our own proprietary infrastructure. So this is like another very important point to highlight. So as you can see, we are covering most of the globe. You might see also our presence in the United States, but I would like to state that OVHcloud US is a completely different entity, so another company from OVHcloud per se, the French company, because we are based in French. So I would like to talk about 4 different pillars that differentiate us on the market. So we are secure, innovative, sustainable, with a fair price. And I would like to go in details for each of these points. So let's start with the bold statement where we say that your data stays your data. So OVHcloud is 100% a pure player of the cloud, which means that our business is basically cloud infrastructure and cloud services that we provide to the market. As I said, we are a leader in the cloud provider in Europe, and absolutely important, we sell our services, but not your data. Okay, so we don't use, we don't resell, we don't make money with the data of our clients. This is very, very important point to state here today. As a French company, so we are not subject to extraterritorial laws like the US Cloud Act, for example. And let's say using our infrastructure, our customers have the freedom to store their data in whatever region or data center that they want, or on-premise, because don't forget that we give the greater flexibility to our customer. So if they want to build a hybrid environment, so have partially data on-prem and partially on the cloud, that's also possible. Security and resiliency. A few words about these two important topics. So we have ultra resilient data centers. So for example, we have 3 high security Secnum Cloud rooms. And for who of you don't know, the Secnum Cloud certification is a French cloud security qualification by ANSSI, which is a French national cybersecurity agency. Network with high availability. As I said, we are the owners of the network, and we provide different solutions for high availability, business continuity, disaster recovery. For example, our 3 availability zone is available now in Milan, but also in Paris. And you can imagine a triangle at each extremities, 50 kilometers apart from each other. There are 3 data centers where you can basically store your data and have the redundancy and the business continuity that you need. Being a leader in the market, we'd also comply with the main quality certifications like ISO, like GDPR, already mentioned Secnum Cloud. We already collaborate with the public sector, health sector, financial services. So all these certifications, the list is available on the website. If you need a specific certificate, please let us know. The first point is done. Innovation. Innovation at OVHcloud is a mindset, okay? Innovation, because we believe in innovation. We have a third of our employees employed in R&D, in research and development, and we employ 15% of our revenue in research and development, okay? And this is the result. We can provide more than 100 products and solutions to the market. And I would like here to list basically the 3 main groups of products that we provide. So the first is bare metal servers that we produce in our manufacturing facility, but also hosted private cloud, which are bare metal servers that are already pre-virtualized with Nutanix, VMware, but also, you know, like you can choose whatever, like Proxmox, you name it. And last but not least, PCI, so public cloud resources, so that are easily deployable from your manager. So we have the storage capabilities, compute, network, database, you name it. So full flexibility also to create your solution. As I said, already said, the innovation is a mindset here. So here are the numbers that I already stated. And also, we are active in the AI and quantum realms. So, for example, I suggest to take a look at our AI endpoints. So there are AI models that are already ready to use. So with a simple API call, you can create your sovereign AI tool. And quantum, we have already some quantum emulators that are available. And let's go to sustainability, because also sustainability is a core value of OVHcloud. What do we mean? We, in practice, in reality, concretely, we are implementing some sustainability pillars also in our manufacturing. So what does it mean? We refurbish our servers. So once a server that we produce comes to the end of life, we disassemble them and we reuse components, and we give our servers up to 3 lives, providing the market cost competitive products, maintaining the high quality that characterize OVHcloud. Also, the buildings, the data centers you see around the globe are mostly refurbished buildings, and our data centers are on average 20% more efficient than the competition. Some data about the power usage, the water usage, the carbon usage with our cooling system that we are deploying on our server. We are able to use up to 7 times less water to cool down the servers. So as you can see, we are concretely contributing to a greener economy. We have also a carbon calculator that our clients can use just to have an idea to provide maybe to your clients how much impact our sustainability is having to the end market and to the solutions we implement. I would like to state that this is another very important point to highlight. So what does it mean? At OVHcloud, we are able to provide services, and these services, you basically know the cost from the beginning. You pay for what you consume. At the end of the month, you have that number at the end of the month in your invoice. So we don't add any traffic fees, vendor lock-in, or any hidden cost. So cost predictability, it's another big plus that you can enjoy with us. So we have a fair, transparent, and predictable prices. The fact that we are vertically integrated, so we produce our own servers, allows us to go to the market with a very competitive price. So that is why you see sometimes that OVHcloud is more price competitive than maybe the standard hyperscalers. It's because we have control on the supply chain, so we are able to lower some costs. Our public cloud is based on OpenStack. We have some partnership with the leaders of the market, like VMware, like Nutanix, and we use also standards like the S3 for the cloud storage. And basically, our website is a marketplace. So you are able very simply from your manager to deploy the solutions that you need, okay? And I would like to close this presentation with a concrete case study that you can find on our website with our client, CourtCorrect, which is a fast-growing AI startup which is focused on helping companies manage disputes, complaints, and claims more efficiently. So the platform uses large language models similar to GPT, Claude, to structure complaint data, purpose resolutions, run regulatory checks, and draft customer communication. This is particularly relevant in sectors like finance, like insurance, and so on, where customer complaints are complex, regulated, and often data sensitive. So CourtCorrect is not just building a generic AI tool, they are building an AI platform that operates in an environment where trust, compliance, and data privacy are central to the adoption. So the challenge they have, they came from the nature of CourtCorrect AI workload. Their model processes large volumes of customers and complaints data, so they need a high-performance database and reliable storage. So initially, they worked with a large US hyperscaler. However, as the customer base grew, data privacy became a problem. So for CourtCorrect, this created a potential risk. And so they needed a cloud provider that could deliver 3 things at the same time. So strong data privacy, competitive cost, and enough performance to support demanding AI workloads. The solution was to move key data operations to OVHcloud public cloud. OVHcloud gave CoreCorrect a European cloud provider with European data centers under EU data protections laws and with a strong sovereign positioning. So CoreCorrect use OVHcloud managed database and object storage, which you can find in the manager, basically, on the panel. Managed database helped reduce the operational burden of running database infrastructure because OVHcloud handles areas like maintenance, security backup, and scalability. Object storage address the second part of the problem, storing large volume of unstructured data in a scalable and cost transparency way. The result was both commercial but also technical. So the client was able to strengthen its data privacy position while continuing to scale its AI platform. With OVHcloud, they could offer customer a strong compliance and sovereignty story, especially important for companies operating in regulated industries. So the key message here is that OVHcloud not only solved a hosting problem, it helped CoreCorrect to align with the AI innovation with privacy, compliance, scalability, and cost control. This is the real value, we believe, of this use case. So we enabled a growing AI company to move faster while giving its customers more confidence in how their data is protected. And with this, we come to the end of this presentation.
Thank you, Enrico. Thank you very much. And this is basically the content that we wanted to share with you. We see that there is a question, however, so I do want to address it first and foremost before we wrap everything up. So if you don't see it, then I'll read it for you. So I own a financial services company and our board keep asking us one thing. What exactly are we risking if we move this system to the cloud? Presentation mentions underestimated risks like jurisdiction, lock-in, exit complexity, and responsibility gaps. What are the 3-5 due diligence questions we should ask a provider before moving sensitive financial data? So honestly, take the parts that I've talked about the quick self-check questions and where your data actually is on the spectrum of both sensitivity and regulations and like priority within the organization itself, because private customer information is one thing, private company information is another thing, and so on and so forth. And I would lean towards what separates OVHcloud from other cloud providers as kind of a good backbone for the question. So basically ask yourself, or the provider rather, where exactly will the data be stored, processed, backed up, logged? So where is the processing of the data and storage of the data will physically take place? Second, who would have access to that data, on what conditions they would have access to that data, and generally who controls that access. Again, specific people, specific names with specific locations, having in mind. Then I would probably think about resilience. So what does it mean in practice? What's the recovery time? What's the recovery point objectives? What are the procedures? How often they are tested? And so on and so forth. Then something that I've talked about several times, the exit strategy. How can we leave from the provider? Have that basically written down and signed off on in the beginning. And yeah, basically who is responsible for what. At the end of the day, you need to have like a table with names and signatures on who can we escalate to if anything goes wrong, who is responsible for what levels of like data handling, who sees what, who is interacting with what, and so on and so forth. So having that kind of transparency and availability is something that I would definitely focus on. But thank you for the question. It's a very nice one. With regards to computational hosting, we currently have some custom AI models running in Azure. How hard would it be to switch is the question. Well, that's a good question. Maybe, Enrico, do you want to jump in? Specifically,
Yeah,
how would OVHcloud handle
absolutely.
this?
So thank you for the question. It depends, I would say, first on the agreements that you have with your current cloud solution provider. But set this aside, OVH Cloud is not a newbie for migrations. We have a dedicated team of professional service engineers who do exactly that. So they are our dedicated armed force for migrations, and we can do different type of migrations from lift and shift to from cloud to cloud, and so we have a specific department dedicated to migrations. I would encourage you maybe to contact Max, so we can engage in a conversation to take a look at your case specifically. But rest assured that it's something that we do quite regularly, and so it's something that we do in our is our bread and butter, to say.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, William. You can always come to talk to me. Yeah, but and thank you, Enrico, for answering the question as well. But it depends on the context, honestly. So without a further in-depth conversation, it's very hard to assess. But yeah, thank you for the question. And they are our models made by our data scientists and engineers. Hmm. Yeah, so I guess it depends on which managed services specifically are used and what's like the performance, latency, and compliance requirements. I'm guessing like since they are your models, you already should have like the allowance, the legal framework to use the data that you use. So if they are stored locally, that should make sense. However, again, talking about data sensitivity, if it's personalized customer data and very sensitive customer data, then you cannot use the cloud probably at all without first and foremost understanding where the servers are going to be located physically. If it's something on the kind of middle end, then I guess European providers would be okay. If it's just an anonymized, usage data or platform data, then it does not really matter, honestly, like which specific provider and which specific framework or which specific technology you would use at the end of the day. So my yeah, I know what you mean, William. I know what you mean. But yeah, so it depends. Basically, it depends on the data would be my answer. But honestly, you would know more than I do about the state of that. Yeah, and there was also a question, or rather an ask to provide a link to the recording. So everybody who registered will get the link we have recorded from the very beginning. You'll get access to everything that we've discussed so far, and you can view it and listen to it at your own leisure. So yeah, thank you all for coming and for joining and for the questions and for the discussion. Again, to reiterate, if you want to talk to me or to Enrico separately, feel free to reach out to us. You have our contact information. We're always glad to talk and to help you along the way. But for now, we wish you farewell. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.